We saw Kuno in the game yesterday really going after the hitters.
Oh, and he hits Contreras, who stares him down. And there were tensions late yesterday. Those are two big guys. Now Contreras, after he homered in the 5th, see anything here?
Well, he sat there and he enjoyed his work. And I don't know if the look was at Hunter Green or if the look was at the ball in left field stands.
And the Cubs dugout is getting hot. And here comes David Ross, who got tossed in an emotional tirade last night. And he makes a beeline for Will Little. Now last night he really gave it at first to our home plate umpire Dan Merzel, but later it was the crew chief Chris Conroy that came over and got a true earful. Ross more measured here, but I have to think he's questioning, is this a spillover of last night? Are there no immediate repercussions? What is the standard that's being set? And for what it's worth, when Patrick Wisdom got drilled, Hunter Strickland said not intentional. Joey Votto was vehemently defiant. Why would he bring the tying run to the plate? Not intentional. But you can tell by the display that David Ross had last night, he thought differently, and I think this tells a further detail to the story.
First of all, from now on, I want this DJ at all games throughout the league. Second, the so-called unwritten rules has to be one of the most foolishly infantile reasons to throw at people in existence. Not to say this was or was not intentional, baseball just has some really stupid cultural deficiencies, and this is one of them.
You always have a right, regardless if it's on purpose or not, intentional or not. You have got to go out there and protect your players.
Notice neither umpire says anything except, okay, all right, yep, fine.
Jim Day, anything you can share that you heard, and was there any aftermath from the hit by pitch to the benches?
There's nothing that I've heard, John. That's one of those things that is discussed. If there's a discussion, it happens in the bullpen.
Also, bear in mind, no warnings, first hit batter of the game, only hit batter of the game, but also last night happened.
Contreras, who is homered, walked, and struck out, and Wilson looking at Kunal.
Situation handling wise, nothing that you can do in terms of warning until you confer, and that's up to the chief if that's going to happen or not. So what Little does here is just gets in front of the batter, gets between, creates the separation. Nothing happens except for Ross.
Clearly Kunal's like, oh boy, not something I want to be starting. And that's when it usually happens. Now all of a sudden they've been hit a couple times.
David Ross has been ejected, and he just came out. I think David Ross's point, to be honest, is very similar to his point last night. And it's basically, are you guys going to at least contemplate what took place earlier in the game?
And so then you know what's going to happen is that they don't take care of any of that, and then the Cubs pitcher comes in,
yes,
and they hit somebody and they get thrown out of the game. You know, and there was, you know, Wilson hit a home run and he flexed his shoulders and he walked out of the box. Like, we don't know. That pitcher could have that reaction, but there's always the possibility, you know, that This made somebody upset.
Yeah, it's 13-5.
We've talked in the past about preventative officiating versus over-umpiring. This particular game situation would be the correct one for a beanball if it was going to happen. It's a blowout. But I don't see why it would, given that last night the Reds were the team that hit Chicago, so you'd expect Chicago to retaliate. Chicago hasn't done it. I'd hate for an umpire to assume it's in response to that home run from earlier in the game. We saw what happened in New York versus Toronto when the umpires assumed animosity to protect Josh Donaldson and ejected the Blue Jays pitcher. This is a situation where you have to read the pitcher's mind. It's really a no-win, and whether you're so-called right or not depends on what team the person judging you is rooting for.
When David was barking at the dugout, I felt like I heard a piece of it. Like, are you guys going to get together and talk about this at all?
And if that's the reason you're throwing him out, you can't take last night's game into today and say, now we're going to throw you out for that again.
Yes.
He's asking a question. He's entitled to ask that question.
Yes. And then I guess my question would be, whoever comes out for the Cubs in the bottom of the 7th, if they drill somebody, are they getting ejected?
My guess is going to be yes.
This is a good philosophical discussion point. Look, it's up for debate whether that was intentional or not. Ross was the only one who argued it. We saw Contreras when he got to first base laughing with Votto. We saw the pitcher have the reaction of, oh no, I didn't want to do that. But let's say we go to the bottom of the inning and Chicago hits Cincinnati on a first pitch fastball leadoff. It becomes more likely that it is deemed retaliatory and intentional. So for that reason, yeah, I would agree that an ejection would indeed be more likely, but not just in a vacuum, because it would be more likely that it was intentional in the first place. Contreras was the only hit batter of this game, so that's a moot point. We're going to have to wait until these teams meet again.
This made somebody upset.
Yeah, it's 13-5. And so David Ross's point, I mean, it's a fair question to be asking, right? Did he just get hit because of that? Because these are the types of games where everybody feels comfortable taking care of that stuff because the results are not an issue, right?
100%. You're not worried about putting a runner on or the tying run to the plate.
So David Ross ejected for the second straight game.